faith, cause these times is hard. Psalm 14:1, the fool said in his heart.
Glad that you have tuned in to this show, and we are in our series entitled Women Adorn Themselves in Modest Apparel, not with gold, pearls, or costly array. And what we were looking at is the fact that there is a doctrine that's going around that is telling women, men, whoever wears jewelry, that jewelry is sinful. And what Yahweh is showing us in His Word is that jewelry is not sinful in and of itself. It's the way that people use jewelry. But Yahweh wants us to know as His people that He not only believes in people wearing jewelry, but He also gave His people jewelry. So we are going to start out in Daniel, the 5th chapter. Daniel or Daniel, the 5th chapter. So when the children of Israel left the land of Egypt, they were instructed to borrow their captors' jewelry, which included earrings, nose rings, bracelets. These were articles of jewelry which were common at that time. So these were articles of jewelry which were common at the time. That is, earrings, nose rings, bracelets. And Yahweh told His people to go and spoil the Egyptians, or request of them jewelry. And they not only gave them jewelry, they gave them all kinds of gold and silver. They gave them bowls, they gave them vessels, they gave them chairs, they gave them all kind of things. And spoiled them because they wanted to get rid of them. Now, Daniel the 5th chapter. So Daniel was a servant of Yahweh, and he was a bold contender for the faith. He refused to eat from the king's table. You can go to Daniel the 1st chapter. But he did not refuse to wear the jewelry that the king gave him. Daniel 5. I'm going to read one verse. Daniel 5 and verse 29, please. Daniel 5, verse 29.
Then commanded Belshazzar, and they clothed Daniel with scarlet, and put a chain of gold about his neck, and made a proclamation concerning him, that he should be the third ruler in the kingdom.
All right, so here is Yahweh saying, then Sabbath Belshazzar, and I believe this was either King Nebuchadnezzar, the first Gentile ruler of Neo-Babylon. This was either his son or grandson. But Daniel explained to him what the handwriting on the wall meant. Mene, tekel, upharsin. You've been weighed in the balance, and your kingdom has been found wanting. And so he gave him, it says, they clothed Daniel with scarlet, and they put a chain of gold about his neck. And you can go over and read in the 1st chapter of Daniel, where Daniel refused to eat the diet that the king was going to give him, but he didn't refuse this chain of gold about his neck. It said he made a proclamation concerning him that he should be the third ruler in the kingdom. Let's go to Yahshua or Isaiah, the 61st chapter. So Yahweh never condemned jewelry. He never condemned it. He condemned what some people did with it, but He didn't condemn the jewelry itself. Isaiah 61. We're going to read one verse there. Isaiah 61. And we're going to read verse 10. Isaiah 61, verse 10, please.
I would greatly rejoice in Yahweh. My soul shall be joyful in my Elohim, for He hath clothed me with the garments of salvation. He hath covered me with the robe of righteousness, as a bridegroom decketh himself with ornaments, and as a bride adorneth herself with her jewels.
All right, so we see that Yahweh equates jewelry with beauty. It says, I will greatly samak in Yahweh. My nephesh shall be simcha in my Elohim, for He hath clothed me with the garments of Yahshua, or salvation. He hath covered me with a robe of tzedakah, as a bridegroom decketh himself with ornaments, and as a bride adorneth herself with jewels. All right, let's go to Song of Solomon, the first chapter. Yahweh equates jewelry with beauty. We're going to see here. It said the groom and the bride deck themselves. And he said the marriage is honorable and the bed undefiled. Song of Solomon, the first chapter. And let's read verse 10. Song of Solomon 1 and verse 10.
Thy cheeks are comely with rows of jewels, thy neck with chains of gold.
All right, see how he's equating it with beauty. Thy cheeks are comely with rows of jewels, thy neck with chains of gold. Verse 11.
We will make thee borders of gold with studs of silver.
It says, we'll make thee borders of gold with studs of silver. Let's go to Yechezkel or Ezekiel 28. Yahweh equates jewelry with beauty. He even created a being and made him jeweled and studded. Ezekiel 28. Never condemned jewelry. Never said jewelry was a sin. Ezekiel 28, let's start at verse 11, please.
Moreover, the word of Yahweh came unto me, saying,
Well,
Son of man, take up a lamentation upon the king of Tyrus, and say unto him, Thus says Yahweh Elohim, Thou sealest up the sum, full of wisdom, and perfect in beauty.
now this is talking about who used to be Lucifer, who now is Hasatan. It says, Moreover, Hadabar of Yahweh came up to me, Amar, Ban of Adam, take up a lamentation upon Hamelech of Tyrus, and Amar unto him. And he's talking about Hasatan, the adversary, who used to be Lucifer because he was behind this physical king. He said, Thus Amar Yahweh Elohim, thou sealest up the sum, full of kokmah and perfect in beauty. Now he's talking about the one that used to be Lucifer, all right, who became the devil, the great red dragon. Verse 13.
Thou hast been in Eden, the garden of Elohim. Every precious stone was thy covering, the sardius, topaz, the diamond, the beryl, the onyx, and the jasper, the sapphire, the emerald, and the carbuncle, and gold, the workmanship of thy tabrets and of thy pipes was prepared in thee in the day that thou was created.
So he said he was perfect in beauty when he was created. But the thing is, he let it go to his head. But he was perfect in beauty, and he's covered with diamonds, the beryl, the onyx, jasper, sapphire, emerald, all kind of precious stones, carbuncle, gold, and the workmanship of thy tabrets and your pipes was prepared in thee in Yowm that thou wast bara or created. So Yahweh said this being Lucifer was perfect in beauty, and he was covered with precious stones, beautiful jewels, jewelry. Let's go to Luke, the 15th chapter. So Yahshua told a parable where, like Yahweh does his people, the Father gave his Son, who had gone away and returned to him, he gave him jewelry. Luke 15. I'm going to read verse 22. Luke 15 and verse 22.
But the father said to his servants, Bring forth the best robe and put it on him, and put a ring on his hand, and shoes on his feet.
Verse 23.
And bring hither the fatted calf, and kill it, and let us eat and be merry.
Now, if the wearing of jewelry is sinful, why did Yahshua give this parable? And he's using this jewelry as a sign of restoration, elevation, and honor, with the best robe and celebration as the guest of honor. It says, But Ha'abba Amar to his Ebed, bring forth the best robe, This is talking about when his son came back to him and put it on him and put a ring on his hand and shoes on his feet. And bring hither the fatted calf and kill it, and let us eat and be merry. So this illustrates Yahweh, who is welcoming us home after we return to him. Let's go to Revelation, the 21st chapter. And when we leave here and go to wait on the resurrection, when we're resurrected from the dead, we will live eternity in a jeweled kingdom. Revelation 21. We're going to start at verse 18. Revelation 21 and verse 18.
And the building of the wall of it was of jasper, and the city was pure gold, like unto clear glass.
Now this is talking about the kingdom that we are aiming to go to. This is talking about the Son's kingdom that Yahweh gave him. The kingdom is going to come down from Shemayim and be on the earth, the new heaven and new earth. It says the building of the wall of it was of jasper. That's a precious metal. The city was pure gold, like unto clear glass. Verse 19.
And the foundations of the wall of the city were garnished with all manner of precious stones. The first foundation was jasper, the second sapphire, the third a chalcedony, the fourth an emerald.
So this is sounding just like this being that Yahweh made, who was called Lucifer. In the city, he said the foundations of the wall of the city were garnished with all manner of precious stones, jewels. It's beautiful. Yahweh looks at jewelry as beautiful. It says the first foundation was jasper, the second sapphire, the third chalcedony, the fourth an emerald. Verse 20.
The fifth sardonyx, the sixth sardius, the seventh chrysolite, the eighth beryl, the ninth topaz, the 10th a chrysoprase, the 11th a jacinth, the 12th an amethyst.
You're just naming off the jewels, and we're going to live in this city for eternity, and it's a beautiful jeweled city, and it's pure righteousness. Yahweh's not making anything sinful. He says without are the dogs and everyone that loves and make a lie are the sinful people. But within this beautiful structure will be those of us that are righteous along with Yahweh and his son Yahshua. Verse 21.
And the 12 gates were 12 pearls. Every several gate was of one pearl. And the street of the city was pure gold, as it were transparent glass.
Even the gates, he said there was 12 gates, and there was jewels or pearls, 12 pearls. Every several gate was of one pearl, and the street of the city was pure gold, as it were transparent glass. Let's go to Malachi, the 3rd chapter. So the choice to wear jewelry is a personal one, not a scriptural one. It is an option that Elohim gives us. The Seventh-day Adventists have followed Ellen White to take away that option. No man, woman, or organization can overrule what Yahweh said, and he used jewelry to symbolize good, not bad. From Malachi, the 3rd chapter. Malachi 3 and verse 17.
And they shall be mine, says Yahweh Sabaoth, in that day when I make up my jewels, and I will spare them, as a man spared his own son that severed him. So
not only will we live in a jewel city throughout eternity, but Yahweh said he's making us jewels. He said, and they shall be mine, Amar Yahweh Sabaoth, in that Yom when I make up my jewels, and I will spare them as a man spareth his own bond that ebbed him. So those of us that serve Yahweh, Yahweh calls us his jewels. Let's go to 1 Timothy, the 2nd chapter. So this is one of the verses that people have corrupted. Different organizations, religious organizations have corrupted and said they mean something other than what they mean. And they gave their personal opinions about it. which Yahweh calls private interpretation. But we believe Yahweh, we listen to what Yahweh says, and we will not let a man or woman overrule what Yahweh says. So 1 Timothy, the 2nd chapter. The verses in 1 Timothy and 1 Peter are using what's called a Hebrew idiom. An idiom is a manner of speaking distinctive of a certain people or language, which is talking about our people, the Hebrew people. 1 Timothy 2, and let's read verse 9, please.
In like manners also, that women adorn themselves in modest apparel, with shamefacedness and sobriety, not with broidered hair, or gold, or pearls, or costly array.
Verse 10.
But which becometh women professing godliness, good works.
Now, this is a Hebrew idiom, and if people don't understand a Hebrew idiom, or they're not listening to Ruach HaKodesh tell them what it means, then they go off of their own righteousness, off of their own zeal, and they say and explain and interpret what it means, but Yahweh interprets himself. So let's look at 1 Kepha or Peter, the 3rd chapter, and then we'll look at this idiom, which is a distinctive manner of speaking of a certain people. 1 Peter, the 3rd chapter, and then we'll look at both of them. 1 Timothy and 1 Peter. 1 Peter 3, and we want to read verse 3, please.
Whose adorning let it not be that outward adorning of plaiting the hair, and of wearing of gold, or of putting on of apparel.
Verse 4.
But let it be the hidden man of the heart, in that which is not corruptible, even the ornament of a meek and quiet ruach, which is in the sight of Elohim of great price.
Now, what some organizations have said, this is saying don't wear jewelry. This is saying jewelry is sinful, but that's a lie. This is not what this is saying. It says, whose adorning? Let it not be that outward adorning of plaiting the hair and a wearing of gold or putting on of apparel, but let it be the hidden adam of Haleb, and that which is not corruptible, even the ornament of a meek and quiet ruach, which is in the sight of Elohim of great price. So this Hebrew idiom, it was a manner of speaking which would minimize one clause to emphasize another clause. Today, we would place the word only in the first clause, and also or rather in the second clause. So what it would say was, let not a woman's adorning be only that of outward things, such as fixing her hair, wearing gold or pearls or apparel, but also rather let it be the inward adorning of a meek and quiet spirit. So the emphasis on the second clause does not eliminate the meaning of the first clause. The emphasis is on the inward adorning, but the outward adorning is still needed. In other words, about plaiting the hair, wearing gold, putting on of apparel meant a woman, if you're taking it like these organizations say, could not fix her hair, she could not wear any jewelry, and it would also mean she could not wear any clothes. Right? That's what the verse says. Don't let it be the outward adorning of putting on of apparel. That means she can't wear any clothes. All right, let's go back to Genesis 38 chapter, but we understand that that is a private interpretation or man's opinion about what that verse says. It is not what Yahweh said through his Nabi Kepha or Timotheus. Genesis 38, and we're going to look at some more Yahweh's people that wore jewelry. A patriarch of the 12 tribes wore jewelry. Genesis 38, let's start at verse 15.
When Yehudah saw her, he thought her to be an harlot, because she had covered her face.
All right, verse 16.
And he turned unto her by the way, and said, Go to, I pray thee, let me come in unto thee. For he knew not that she was his daughter-in-law. And she said, What wilt thou give me, that thou mayest come in unto me?
All right, so this is Tamar, and Yehuda, who was a patriarch, one of the patriarchs of the 12 tribes of Yisrael. Matter of fact, he's in the lineage. Yahshua is in his lineage. He saw her, he thought she was a harlot, but now he's asking the interchange, okay, what can I give you, or what do you want, so that I can have relations with you? All right, verse 17.
And he said, I will send thee a kid from the flock. And she said, wilt thou give me a pledge till thou sent it?
All right, he says, I'm going to give you a goat. But she said, what? In the meantime, don't walk away and not give me anything. What will you give me in the meantime until you can go get that goat from your flock? Verse 18.
And he said, what pledge shall I give thee? And she said, thy signet and thy bracelets and thy staff that is in thy hand. And he gave it her, and came in unto her, and she conceived by him.
All right, so here's the patriarch of the 12 tribes wearing jewelry. What pledge, and he Amar, what pledge shall I give thee? And she Amar, your signet, which could be your ring. And again, we looked at all these different definitions, because sometimes signet could be a ring, it could be something else other than the ring. And bracelets, so he had some bracelets on his arm. And your staff that's in your hand. And he gave it to her and came in unto her, and she conceived by him. Let's go to Esther, the 8th chapter. So here's another faithful man of Yahweh, Mordecai. He was given jewelry by the Persian king, Ahasuerus. Esther, the 8th chapter. And he was a righteous man. He was not an unrighteous man. Esther 8. And we want to read verse 1. Esther 8 and verse 1, please.
On that day did the king Ahasuerus give the house of Haman, the Jews' enemy, the Hebrews' enemy, unto Esther the queen. And Mordecai came before the king, for Esther had told what he was to unto her.
All right, in verse 2.
And the king took off his ring, which he had taken from Haman, and gave it unto Mordecai. And Esther set Mordecai over the house of Haman.
All right, said Hamelech took off his ring, and which he had taken from Haman, and gave it to Mordecai. And Esther set Mordecai over Habayat of Haman. All right, King Saul, the first physical king of Israel, wore jewelry. Go to 1 Samuel. 1 Samuel, the 11th chapter. 1 Samuel 11. Just want to show you that these organizations and people that are saying that the Elohim of this Bible, that wrote this Bible, maybe that's why they make their own funny Bibles. They create their own Bibles so then they can say what they wanted to say. But the bottom line is, all of us are standing before our Maker, or going to have to stand before our Maker, the true and living Kaya Elohim. And we can make up a whole bunch of stuff, but the bottom line is what he actually said. And we're going to be judged by what he actually said. 1 Samuel 11, I want to read one verse, verse 10. So we're looking at his people. Here's King Saul, he wore jewelry. 1 Samuel 11 and verse 10, please.
Therefore the men of Jabesh said, tomorrow we will...
Okay, maybe it's 2 Samuel.
Oh, 2 Samuel.
Yeah, maybe, yeah, I had first, so perhaps it's second. Yeah, 11 and 10.
And when David had told...
Okay, that's not it. So let me just read it, and then I will just flash up the right verse on the screen. All right, and it reads, so I stood upon him and slew him, because I was sure that he could not live after that he was fallen. And I took the crown that was upon his head, and the bracelet that was on his arm, and have brought them hither unto my Adon. So this is talking about this man who claimed that he killed King Shaul, but he really didn't kill him. But he's saying that he had a crown on his head, which is jewelry, and a bracelet on his arm. All right? Let's go to Exodus, the 33rd chapter. So nothing is recorded in the Bible about Israel wearing jewelry and displeasing Yahweh by wearing it. Nothing. Exodus 33. Nothing is recorded in the Bible about Israel wearing jewelry, and that of itself displeased Yahweh. Exodus 33. Who is the Elohim of this Bible? And verse 4. Exodus 33, verse 4, please.
And when the people heard these evil tidings, they mourned, and no man did put on him his ornaments.
So now, these are some verses that indicates that ancient Israel, our forefathers, would normally wear jewelry. It says, when Ha'am Shema these Ra tidings, they mourned, and no Adam did put on him his ornaments or jewelry. Go to 2 Samuel, the 1st chapter. 2 Samuel, the 1st chapter, and verse 24. 2 Samuel, the 1st chapter, verse 24. This indicates that normally Israel will wear jewelry. Verse 24.
Ye daughters of Yisrael, weep over Shaul, who clothed you in scarlet with other delights, who put on ornaments of gold upon your apparel.
All right, so not only on them, but on their apparel. It says, ye bath of Yisrael, weep over Shaul, who clothed you in scarlet with other delights, who put on ornaments of gold upon your apparel. So jewelry is sometimes called in the King James Bible ornaments. Now, the book of Isaiah gives a list of ornaments that were worn by women. The women of Jerusalem. Let's go to Yahshua, the 3rd chapter, or Isaiah, the 3rd chapter. Isaiah, the 3rd chapter. And we want to start at verse 16. Isaiah 3, verse 16, please.
Moreover, Yahweh saith, because the daughters of Zion are haughty, and walk with stretched forth necks and wanton eyes, walking and mincing as they go, and making a tinkling with their feet.
Now here's where people with private interpretations, these organizations, they say, okay, see, you can read this and they're wearing jewelry, and it wasn't the jewelry that was sinful. It was what the people did with the jewelry. It says, moreover, Yahweh Amar, because our bath of Zion are haughty, they're prideful. They didn't have that adornment of an inner beauty as well as the outer beauty. They walk with stretched forth necks and wanton eyes, walking and mincing as they go, and making a tinkling with their feet, looking to attract people because of how they look outwardly. But we servants of Yahweh have both of them. We have the inward and the outward beauty. And dressing down outwardly is not a sign of more holiness than dressing like Yahweh said we can dress. Or recognizing that Yahweh gave us jewels of silver and gold. And he said, I want you to wear jewels of silver and gold so people can recognize who you are. All right? And that I have blessed you. Verse 17.
Therefore Yahweh will smite with a scab the crown of the head of the daughters of Zion, and Yahweh will discover their secret parts.
Now here's Yahweh pronouncing judgment upon Israel for misuse of the jewelry that he gave them. They were misusing what he gave them as something to attract people to themselves outwardly, not as a reflection of letting people know how Yahweh blessed them and that they're his people and that Yahweh treats them well. He said, therefore Yahweh will smite with a scab the crown of the head of Habath of Zion, And Yahweh will discover their secret parts. Verse 18.
In that day Yahweh will take away the bravery of their tinkling ornaments about their feet, and their cowls, and their round tires like the moon.
So they had some nice jewelry, but they were thinking, oh, I really look good because of this. Instead of recognizing how Yahweh had blessed them, and they looked nice because Yahweh gave them some nice things. They weren't operating from the inside out. They were doing like the world that operates from the outside in. Whatever you look like physically, whatever you wear physically, and again, that's where these private interpretations come from. And they're thinking they can improve on Yahweh. No, you can't. You can't improve on Yahweh. Yahweh explained exactly how it's supposed to be. He said, in that Yom, Yahweh will take away the bravery of their tinkling ornaments about their feet, and their cawls, and their round tires like the moon. So they had a bunch of jewelry on, and Yahweh gave it to them. But they misused it. Verse 19.
The chains, and the bracelets, and the mufflers,
20.
the bonnets, and the ornaments of the legs, and the headbands, and the tablets, and the earrings,
Go ahead.
the rings, and nose jewels,
22.
the changeable suits of apparel, and the mantles, and the wimples, and the crisping pins,
23.
the glasses, and the fine linen, and the hoods, and the veils.
So they were decked from head to toe, and Yahweh gave them this stuff. But they misused it. There was nothing wrong with the jewelry. It was the people, the women and men, that misused the jewelry. So here Isaiah gives insight into the jewelry and clothing customs of our people, ancient Israel, and how Yahweh pronounced judgment on them for misusing the jewelry that he gave them. Let's go to Proverbs, the 1st chapter. Yet, Yahweh still uses jewelry references, and he uses it to refer to spiritual goodness. Proverbs, the 1st chapter. And only Ruach HaKodesh can unravel this, because people want to think that they're holier than thou by the rules that they make up. No, only Yahweh knows what is righteousness and what is holiness. And he's telling us what it is. And we believe Yahweh. Proverbs 1. Now he's using jewelry to refer to spiritual goodness. Let's read verse 8. Proverbs 1 and verse 8.
My son, hear the instruction of thy father, and forsake not the law of thy mother.
9.
For they shall be an ornament of grace unto thy head, and chains about thy neck.
Well, he said, Shamar ha-musar of thy Abba, and forsake not ha-tara of thy Em. For they shall be an ornament, talking about jewel, right? Jewelry of hang unto your head, and chains about your neck. So he's saying, they're like jewels on you, and like putting a necklace on you. Let's go to Proverbs 25th chapter. And this is spiritual goodness Yahweh is talking about. So if jewelry is sinful, why would Yahweh use it to refer to something spiritual and that is good? Proverbs 25. Because jewelry is not sinful in itself. And verse 12. Proverbs 25 and verse 12.
As an earring of gold, and an ornament of fine gold, so is a wiser reprover upon an obedient
Here
ear.
he is, and he always says obedience is better than sacrifice. He says that an earring of gold. He keeps using jewelry to refer to spiritual goodness. And an ornament of fine gold, so is a kakam reprover upon an obedient ear. He says, don't just be a hearer of it, but do what you hear. So we hear that Yahweh said jewelry is good, that he decked his people with silver and gold, and he wants them to look good, and he wants people to know that's because he gave it to me. So we're going to continue to hear what Yahweh is telling us and to obey what he's telling us. Let's go to Haggai, the 2nd chapter. So it cannot be denied and be truthful that Yahweh used jewelry to typify good things. He did. cannot be denied unless you are a liar, unless you think you know better than Yahweh. Well, I know I don't. So I'm going to confirm what Yahweh says. Haggai 2 and verse 23.
In that day, saith Yahweh Sabaoth, I will take thee, O Zerubbabel, my servant, the son of Shealtiel, saith Yahweh, and will make thee as a signet. For I have chosen thee, saith Yahweh Sabaoth.
Now here's Yahweh letting this Nabi know, I have chosen you. Said, in that Yom, Amar Yahweh Sabaoth, will I take thee, O Zerubbabel, my Ebed. He's saying he's his servant. Haban of Shealtiel, Amar Yahweh, and will make thee a signet. That's a piece of jewelry. For I have chosen thee, said Yahweh Sabaoth. And again, we read in Malachi where he said, I'm making up my jewels. He's talking about my people as his jewels. Let's go to Yechezkel or Ezekiel 16. So Yahweh's people, Israel, were given lots of jewelry by him. And he wasn't trying to corrupt them. He was trying to possess them and let them know, hey, you're my people. This is what I do to reward you when you come back to me. I give you things, including jewelry. Ezekiel 16. We'll start at verse 11. Ezekiel 16 and verse 11, please.
I decked thee also with ornaments, and I put bracelets upon thy hands, and a chain on thy neck.
So Yahweh, he says, I decked you out. That's who I am. I'm an abundant Elohim. I decked thee also with ornaments. And again, in the KJV, ornaments is talking about jewelry. Whether it's rings or bracelets, necklaces, earrings, whatever. I decked thee also with ornaments. This is Yahweh talking, not Ezekiel. And I put bracelets upon your hands and a chain on your neck. He said, I did this. Verse 12.
And I put a jewel on thy forehead, and earrings in thy ears, and a beautiful crown upon thy head.
And I put a jewel on your forehead, and earrings in your ears, and a beautiful crown upon your head. Let's go to Yirmiyahu or Jeremiah, the 2nd chapter. Yahweh used jewelry to symbolize his blessings. Jeremiah 2. And verse 32. Jeremiah 2, verse 32.
2:32.
Yes.
Can a maid forget her ornaments, or a bride her attire? Yet my people have forgotten me days without number.
Now he's saying a maid, and a maid is talking about a virgin. Can she forget her jewelry? Or a bride her attire? On the wedding day, the bride dresses herself up. Yet my am have forgotten me, Yowm without number. Why? Because they're so busy listening to what other people say. He said, she said about what Yahweh said, instead of getting in here and letting Yahweh tell them what he said himself. Let's go over to Revelation, the 21st chapter. And we had said off camera, that's why it was no surprise to some of us when Mr. T came on wearing all the chains of gold around his neck. That's who our people are. That's what we do. And now you see all kinds of people, and they have big giant crosses and just all kind of jewelry. Well, this is not just for rock stars or the movie stars. This is what Yahweh's people do. He decked us out to teach us how to dress. All right, Revelation 21, let's read one verse, verse 2.
And I, Yachanan, saw the holy city, New Jerusalem, coming down from Elohim out of Shemayim, prepared as a bride adorned for her husband.
And again, we saw New Jerusalem is decked out. It's precious stones and jewelry throughout the walls, the doors, the floors, everything. It's just one big piece of jewelry that we will be living in eternity. Let's go to Matthew's 6th chapter, Matthew's or Matthew. So adorned means to ornament, to embellish, to decorate, to garnish, to trim. Doesn't mean to strip bare. It means to deck it out, like Yahweh said he does. Matthew's the 7th chapter. He decks his people out. He decked New Jerusalem out. Matthew 7, I'm going to read one verse, verse 6.
Give not that which is holy unto the dogs, neither cast ye your pearls before swine, lest they trample them under their feet and turn again and rend you.
So he says, give not that which is kadash unto the dogs. Neither cast ye your pearls before swine, lest they trample them under their feet and turn again and rend you. So pearls here represent good, and the swine represents evil. So if wearing pearls was a sin, there would be no point in what Yahshua said. Don't give your pearls to swine. We're going to go to Exodus, the 32nd chapter. So an analysis of the chronology of Bible events and their impact on the privilege of jewelry usage. And we looked at this before, but I'm just going to read through this. And none of the places that we went in any way prohibit wearing earrings, jewelry, or anything else. We went to see Eliezer, who was Abraham's servant. He gave Rebecca and earrings and bracelets for a gift to betroth her to his son Yitzchak. That's in Genesis 24 and 22. Yaakov called Israel from idolatry and made them give up their earrings because they were in the form of these pagan deities. That's in Genesis 35 and 4. But it didn't say the jewelry was sinful. It was what the images that the people made it into. And Yaakov went and buried it. Number 3, Aaron told Israel to break off their earrings to make a golden calf. Exodus 32 and 2. Well, wasn't nothing wrong with the earrings. It was what Aaron did with the earrings. It wasn't the jewelry. It's what he did with the earrings that was the sin. Verse 4. Number 4, Moses called for an offering of gold to build a tabernacle to Yahweh. That's in Exodus 35 and 5. So that was a good purpose. So if jewelry was sinful, why is he calling for it to be a part of building this sacred building to Shaka worship Yahweh in? Because it's not. Verse 5, the captains bring an offering, number 5, the captains bring an offering of earrings from the spoil of battle. Numbers 31 and 50. And they offer this as an offering to Yahweh, and Yahweh accepted it. All right. 6, Job gives earrings of gold. He's given earrings of gold after his suffering. Job 42:11. We read about how his neighbors came and all gave him some jewels. Again, we don't, in the King James it could say earring, but it could be a bracelet, it could be a ring, it could be a necklace, any form of jewelry. So it doesn't just necessarily have to be earring, but all his neighbors came and gave him some jewels. All right, that was good. That didn't prohibit using jewels. 7, Judah and Jerusalem backslid into idolatry. Isaiah the 3rd chapter, verses 1 to 9. The jewelry wasn't sinful, they misused it. All right, verse 8, Gideon slays the kings of Midian, and he takes earrings of his enemies and makes an ephod in Judges the 8th chapter, verse 24 to 26. So we're going to look at that, and we're going to see the jewelry wasn't sinful, but what Gideon did with it made it sinful. And number 9, Hosea compares Israel's relationship with Yahweh to a husband and wife. Hosea the 2nd chapter and verse 13. None of these prohibited the wearing of jewelry. That's Exodus 33. So jewelry used in the correct manner has never been forbidden by Yahweh. And of course there is a biblical prohibition against the wrong use of jewelry. Exodus 32 And let's start at verse 1. Now, this is a wrong use of jewelry.
And when the people saw that Moshe delayed to come down out of the mount, the people gathered themselves together unto Aharon, and said unto him, Up, make us Elohims, which shall go before us. For as this Moshe, the man that brought us up out of the land of Mizraim, we wot not what is become of him.
Verse 2.
And Aharon said unto them, Break off the golden earrings which are in the ears of your wives, of your sons, and of your daughters, and bring them unto me.
All right, now here they talking about, and when Ha'am saw that Moshe delayed to come down out of the mount, Ha'am gathered themselves together unto Aharon, and Amar unto him, Up, make us Els, which shall go before us. Now how you going to make yourself an Elohim? How are you going to make something and call yourself? So you understand, that's paganism. That's a wrong use of jewelry. Because first thing Aharon said, hey, Aharon, Amar unto them, break off the golden earrings which are in the ears of the Iyshshah, and then the young children, male, and the female children, and bring them unto me. And again, just because it's talking about earrings, it could have been some other types of jewelry. All right, but he just requested earrings that are in the ears. But this is the wrong use of jewelry. Not the jewelry itself, is what they used it for. Verse 3.
And all the people break off the golden earrings which were in their ears, and brought them unto Aharon.
Verse 4.
And he received them at their hand, and fashioned it with a graving tool, after he had made it a molten calf. And they said, These be thy Elohims, O Yisrael.
See, so they're over there like some other people worshiping cows and stuff. And they even had a display of cows sitting in Chicago. And you would see them every now and then around here. But jewelry used in an idolatrous way is an offense which Yahweh has spoken against. It's not the jewelry itself, it's what the people did with the jewelry. Now let's go to Judges, the 8th chapter. So after Gideon had slain the kings of Midian, the men of Israel were grateful, and they asked Gideon to rule over them. So he said, No, I'm not going to rule over you. And then he asked for them to give him their jewelry. And he misused the jewelry. So this is a wrong use of jewelry. That does not support an organization standing up or organizations standing up and tell you wearing jewelry is sinful. Judges 8 and verse 23, please.
And Gideon said unto them, I will not rule over you, neither shall my son rule over you. Yahweh shall rule over you.
Now he said that, okay? And Gideon among them, I will not rule over you, neither shall my bond rule over you. Yahweh will rule over you. Yes, like he does rule over his people. So he said that right. Verse 24.
And Gideon said unto them, I would desire a request of you, that ye would give me every man the earrings of his prey. For they had golden earrings, because they were Ishmaelites.
All right, so they had golden earrings because they were Ishmaelites. This is what our people wore. We're not Ishmaelites, but the Ishmaelites are part Shem and part Ham. This is what the people over there in what's called the Middle East, in what's called the land of Ham, it's been colorized now, so you only have Japhethites over there. But the original black folks that were over there, they wore the jewelry. It said they had golden earrings, and again, earrings could mean bracelets, whatever. They wore gold because they were Ishmaelites. This is what we did. Well, you're not Ishmaelites, but this is what our people did. Verse 25, and they weren't being sinful by doing it. 25.
And they answered, we will willingly give them. And they spread a garment and did cast it therein, every man the earrings of his prey.
26.
And the weight of the golden earrings that he requested was 1,700 shekel of gold, besides ornaments and collars and purple raiment that was on the kings of Midian, and besides the chains that were about the camel's neck.
Now you see, they had so much gold, they even had gold chains around the camels' necks. And it's talking about, it said the weight, we had gone into how much a shekel is. I believe it was like 0.04 ounce. And they're saying that they had 1,700 shekels of gold, besides the ornaments and the collars and the purple raiment that were on the kings of Midian, besides the chains that were on their camels' necks. Verse 27.
And Gideon made an ephod thereof, and put it in his city, even in Ophrah. And all Yisrael went thither a whoring after it, which thing became a snare unto Gideon and to his house.
So that's where he messed up. Gideon made an ephod thereof and put it in his city, even in Ophrah, and all Yisrael went thither a whoring after it, which thing became a snare unto Gideon and to his bite. All right, let's go to Hosea, the 2nd chapter. So Yahweh threatens to take away the jewelry when it is used sinfully, and he does take it away. Hosea, the 2nd chapter. He takes from Israel all the good things that he gave them when they use it to serve idols. When instead of being grateful to Yahweh, they get it twisted and get it backwards and think Yahweh blessed them with this stuff so they can not serve him. We'll say the 2nd chapter, let's start at verse 3.
Lest I strip her naked, and set her as in the day that she was born, and make her as a wilderness, and set her like a dry land, and slay her with thirst.
All right, so he's talking about Yisrael before he met our forefathers, before he met us. He said that you were wretched, miserable, cold, blind, and naked. And then he said, I'll counsel with me so I can give you eye salve to anoint your eyes so that you can see. He said, unless I strip her naked and set her as in our Yowm that she was born, and make her as a wilderness, and set her like a dry land, and slay her with thirst. So he said, hey, I blessed you, but I can take it away from you. Verse 4.
And I will not have mercy upon her children, for they be the children of whores.
So not only do you get the blessings removed from you, but you can get your family, the blessings taken from your family. He says, I will not have a seed upon her band, for they be a band of whoredoms. You're not teaching them to follow me. Why? Because you're not following me. And you can't get anybody to do anything that you're not doing. It doesn't go by you just telling them, what is it, don't do as I do, do as I say do. That doesn't work. Verse 5.
For their mother hath played a harlot. She that conceived them had done shamefully. For she said, I will go after my lovers, that give me my bread and my water, my wool and my flax, my oil and my drink.
Now how backwards is that? Yahweh is the one that was blessing them and that was giving them everything. It says, for their M had played the harlot. She that conceived them have done shamefully. For Shelomah, I will go after my lovers, that give me my lechem and my ma'im, my wool and my flax, mine oil and my drink. Yahweh was the one that blessed them with that. And instead of appreciating it, they got it twisted. Verse 6.
Therefore, behold, I will hedge up thy way with thorns, and make a wall, that she shall not find her paths.
Verse 7.
And she shall follow after her lovers, but she shall not overtake them. And she shall seek them, but shall not find them. Then shall she say, I will go and return to my first husband, for then it was better with me than now.
He said, okay, now after she got out there, or Israel got out there and realized, you know what, it's thorns and thistles out here, and I can't find my way. It says, then she says, I'll go and return to my first Iysh. She's Talking about Yahweh, for then it was better with me than now. Oh yeah, he's the one that gave you the corn and the oil and the wine, the wool and the flax, and then you start hallucinating and thinking that you got blessed by somebody other than Yahweh. But again, Yahweh can bless us, but when we don't stay faithful, there's no reason for him to continue to have the blessing to be on us. All right, let's skip down to verse 9, please.
Therefore will I return and take away my corn in the time thereof, and my wine in the season thereof, and will recover my wool and my flax, given to cover her nakedness.
So see how confused Israel was? It's talking about, oh, my lovers, they gave me bread and my water, my wool and my flax. Here's Yahweh saying, therefore will I return and take away my corn in the time thereof, and my yayin in the season thereof, and will recover my wool and my flax given to cover her nakedness. So that's a lie. They're thinking they're lovers. No, Yahweh gave it to me. He said, I'm going to come and take it back. You're not going to serve me? Well, I'm going to take it back. Verse 10.
And now will I discover her lewdness in the sight of her lovers, and none shall deliver her out of my hand.
He said, no, you're not going to get away. That's right. Now I'm going to expose you to everyone. Verse 11.
I will also cause all her mirth to cease, her feast days, her new moons, her Shabbats, and all her solemn feasts.
12.
And I will destroy her vines and her fig trees, whereof she hath said, these are my rewards that my lovers have given me, and I will make them a forest, and the beasts of the field shall eat them.
All right, so since Israel, when they're away from Yahweh, discredit Yahweh and want to credit other pagan deities and other things with what Yahweh has blessed them with, he said, I will destroy her vines and her fig trees whereof she have a mark. These are my rewards that my lovers have given me, these pagan elves. And I will make them a forest, and the beasts of the field shall eat them. He said, I'm going to tear them up. Verse 13.
And I will visit upon her the days of Baalim, wherein she burned incense unto them, and she decked herself with her earrings and her jewels, and she went after her lovers and forgot me, saith Yahweh.
Yahweh said, yeah, I gave her the earrings, I gave her the jewels. He said, but I'm going to visit upon her Hayam of Balaam, wherein she burned incense to them.
I seek your face, love and grace. Have your way. I praise your name.
My people lost faith, cause these times is hard. Psalm 14:1. The fool said in his heart, there is no God.